Greetings, my name is Carlos Lampkin. I'm a student currently enrolled in Liberty University. I'm doing my video presentation on one of the variations of the social cultural approach of symbolic interactionism. George Herbert Mead was attributed to the founder of that movement, and later in life, one of his chief apostles, as they call him, Herbert Bloomer, actually created the phrase symbolic interactionism. This particular theory describes the processes of how people are developed. It focuses on ways that people use meaning and structure. The theory is pragmatic in the sense that means it's one true reality, and the content of the theory composes reality through social interaction. And there are three cardinal concepts in being: society, self, and mind. And the general processes of society, self, and mind compose the social act. Social act is somewhat similar to communication. And what I mean by communication is that we form a meaning or a message. And after we form the meaning or message, we send it. And once it's received, then it's interpreted. So that's somewhat how communication and the social act are similar. And me composes gestures and symbols. Symbols has a higher form in communication. So in the social act, the gestures or symbols are sent, and once they're received, then there's a response, and as of the response, then there's a result. And that's how the social act is somewhat similar to communication. And now, meaning the social act, the concepts of the social act are society. Society, according to Mead, is constructed or composed of symbols or communication, and that's how we create our reality. Then there's the self concept, which means how we are perceived, how we think of ourselves, and how we think people see us, and that's the self concept of Mead's theory of the social act. Then there's the mind. There's the ability to use the significant symbols to create meaning or to conversate or to dialogue. And as I mentioned, the content or context of this particular theory is subjective. And what the difference between being subjective and objective. In the biblical worldview, in Hebrews 11:1 says that now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So that's somewhat of an objective sense of reality. We understand through biblical worldview, the book of Genesis, first chapter, the gospel according to St. John in the first chapter, that says that in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the same was with him in the beginning, and nothing that was made without him that was made. So we have an understanding of the origin of all things, the origin of man, in the book of Genesis, first, second, third chapters, which speaks that God formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils, and man became a living soul. So we have social interaction through the theory of symbolic interactionism that says our social interaction compose our meaning, but we understand that we have reality through a biblical worldview in the sense that it was created by God. So there is somewhat some slight criticism in the theory. Now, in moving on, all theories are abstract, and according to Littlejohn and Falls, theories are abstract, in which meaning that there's something always left out of theories. So, and then in moving forward in this theory, it focuses on the micro levels of the interaction instead of the macro. There was one particular analogy that says this theory focuses on the trees in the forest instead of the forest. But there are a lot of general uses for this theory. As we look around, we see that the world is becoming more diverse on a daily basis. So the theory can produce knowledge. And there are other criticisms of the theory, in meaning that it uses qualitative research. Understanding that qualitative research is basically the study of habits and the study of people, which versus the quantitative uses the numbers in general practices of science. So there are several criticisms of the theory, but as I forestated, there's a lot of use for the theory in helping people to become sensitive, culturally sensitive, cultural awareness, because the strength of any work group, the strength of any corporation or nation, you can draw strength from your diversity. And as I mentioned, the world is becoming more and more diverse. So we have to find ways on how to interact with people. There are wars, there are conflicts, business, globalization, and there are several key concepts in every nation in globalization and immigration. And you have workforce immigration going from nation to nation. And so there are many ways in which the theory is useful to society and community, and learning how to figure out ways on how people can get along, how we can interact, how we can draw the strength out of our diversity. And as I mentioned before, it's pragmatic in a sense, which means that there's one true reality according to the theory. But one of the things that we have to realize with getting along is that we have to become tolerant to a sense. Not meaning that we have to give in to a certain culture or a certain dialogue, but we can become culturally sensitive where we learn how to agree to disagree. We're going to always have conflict. Conflict and offenses are unavoidable. There's really no way to exclude conflict. But what we can do or learn from the theory is how to prevent dysfunctional conflict and becoming culturally sensitive and becoming aware of the strengths of others that are coming in, learning how to use others' talent, learning how to get along. Because it's the strength of diversity when we can come up with new perspectives and new ideas. And as I conclude, and going to the Christian worldview, we want to get a message across. Yes, we do. But one of the greatest benefits in studying symbolic interactionism is having people observe us. Jesus said in the Gospels that we'll know them by their fruit. Or he says the parable that how can a good tree bring forth evil fruit and vice versa. Then he goes on to say that we'll know them by their fruits. And it's only in people observing our character, our dignity, learning how we love, learning how we forgive, that they can see the strength of our diversity and being Christians. They may not understand our symbols, or we may not understand their symbols, but there are certain characteristics and certain virtues that everyone can understand. So, and again, the theory has a lot of need in society today. Even though there are some criticisms that goes along with the theory, there are a lot of strengths that can come along out of the theory because it's needful and useful in learning how to get along in a society, because everybody's not going to think like us. Everybody's not going to do the same things. And if the truth be told, every person that we see on this earth has personal struggles. They have annoyances. We don't get along, personality clashes. So in studying the theory of symbolic interaction, it can bring a lot of growth. One of the major forms or themes of the theory was learning how to deal with the complex issues in society. So even though I don't agree with everything in the theory, I can say that the theory is beneficial because the purpose of it, or the underlying purpose, and learning how to solve some of the social complex problems can actually branch off and cause us to discover more things. The theory is bringing forth knowledge or producing knowledge that can be beneficial or useful. But once again, my name is Carlos Lampkin with Liberty University. God bless you and thank you for your time.